Hello everyone and welcome back to Always Watching. Today we're discussing the film A Mistake. So briefly, Mistake follows a surgeon who allows her younger colleague to take charge during a surgery. When a mistake occurs, the surgeon finds herself in a difficult situation. The film stars Elizabeth Banks as a surgeon named Liz Taylor, and I just thought this was an incredibly well done and thoughtful film about the medical field. The drama begins when, during an operation, a young surgeon cuts a patient a little too deeply, and this mistake results in the death of this patient, or at least plays a huge part in her death. What ensues is a fantastic story about accountability and human error in the medical field. Minus the accent, I did think Elizabeth Banks gives a phenomenal performance as this surgeon who's between a rock and a hard place. The death of this patient puts the hospital under pressure to find a scapegoat and throws someone under the bus. This movie had me thinking, like, when it comes to the medical field, we have such high expectations of the people who work in this field, and a lot of us don't really understand the details of it. Like, it's very complicated and there's just so many factors involved, and as much as they try to simplify it for us, there's just a lot that the average person isn't able to really fully appreciate. And in this context, when you think about a surgery gone wrong, we immediately blame the doctor because we just assume they could have done better. And in some cases, yes, the surgeon is to blame 100%. But in other cases, it's simply human error. It's really hard to tell, depending on the patient, whether or not the mistake led to their death or whether or not the patient was already in a situation beyond saving. And the question this movie asks is, like, how much leeway can we give in terms of human error? Like, what percentage is acceptable for individuals who are responsible for saving people's lives? Because again, we don't want any mistakes. We want zero, but that's just not possible. Now, the drama with this mistake involving Elizabeth Banks' character is paralleled with all these changes going on in the country with the medical field. This incident becomes viral, essentially, and it allows a lot of outsiders to point the finger and demand more transparency when it comes to hospitals and doctors. During a press conference, one of the speakers, or the main speakers, again really urges transparency, and his heart is in the right place, and one of the ways he advocates for transparency is publishing all the successful and failed surgeries of every single surgeon. However, the problem with this is, of course, it's illegal to publish patients' information. So simply trying to rank doctors based on the number of surgeries they were successful and failed, it just leaves so much out of it. Like, there's a difference between operating on 6 healthy patients to 6 patients with chronic diseases or problems. I thought the conversation was fascinating because it was an attempt to make this whole process more transparent. And of course, like, we would love to hold people accountable. However, you do want to hold people accountable in the right way. And I love the conversations this movie is having because it's very hard to simplify a complicated process, because you really have to treat each case like separate, because there's just no umbrella that you can kind of judge everyone based on. I love how the film used this story of this mistake to explore these broader themes and these broader issues in the medical field that are very relevant in the real world. I think whoever wrote this script did an enormous amount of research. Like, you can tell that, like, they did not waste a line, they did not waste a minute. And I love how they humanize these doctors as well, because again, I don't know, from the outside looking in, you just assume they're kind of like robots. And we don't appreciate sometimes the impact these mistakes have on them and their own mental health because of the high expectations we set for them. And again, it's not about lowering those expectations, but it is about maybe modifying it. And it takes a heavy toll, not just to people in the medical field, but to the patient as well. But the fact that I had all these questions and I wanted to have all these conversations, I think speaks volumes about this movie. Like, it is an incredibly well done story, very thoughtful, and I highly recommend you try to see it if you can. So you guys let me know what you think, and until next time.